Hare Krishna.
हरि बोल माताजी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. Okay, so we'll get started. Hopefully other children can join soon. So before we get into our today's reading, the book Elevation to Krishna Consciousness, Chapter 3, we are going to say our prayers and then we'll get into a little recap and then we'll get into our reading. Okay, so you all can unmute yourself and we all can say the prayers together. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So let me start sharing my screen. Okay. So we are all here. Which chapter are we doing? Do you all remember what we read last week? We are reading chapter number 3. And what is the title of the chapter? Towards a peaceful society. So do you all remember that we read how living in a harmony, living in peaceful society, everybody can be happy, right? The goal of all our life is that we are trying to be happy, right? Isn't it? So the first chapter we talked about the human lives and the animal lives, right? We saw the difference between the human life and the animal lives. What makes a person in a human life live like an animal life, or elevate themselves and live a human life. What is that thing? The dharma, the righteousness, right? Yes, Manar, what is that thing?
I wanted to say, humans can live as animals. Some humans live as animals, like they eat, sleep, mate, and defend, and that's the same thing too.
Yeah, same thing, right? And what differentiates the human beings from those animal lives living like an animals is to discriminate between the right thing and the wrong thing, right? Follow the path of righteousness. That's the only thing that differentiates the human beings from living like an animal life. Then we were seeing, whatever we are doing, whatever our endeavors are for the happiness. And we saw the difference between the material happiness and spiritual happiness, which is permanent, which is of a higher nature in a way. So we saw those differences, and we saw that how when we are putting all this endeavor to achieve something temporary, it's all hard struggles, because at some point those will be taken away from us. Then we started looking into how can we be happy? But is it just only we should be happy? Or everybody should be happy, right? If you're thinking that, if we are thinking only I should be happy, only, all about me, then that's a selfish thinking, right? So we want everybody to be happy. What should be done for everybody to be happy? So we should have a peaceful society. We should live in harmony with nature, with every living entity, for a peaceful society. So everybody is happy. So that's the theme of our current chapter, which is chapter number 3. which is on the page. If you have the book and if you're following the book reading, that page number 31. And let's see how far have we got into that chapter. Okay, I'm going to straight go to the chapter 3. Okay, it's a long chapter. Chapter 2 was a long chapter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hard struggles for happiness. That was the second chapter. And third chapter, towards the peaceful society. Okay, so let's get to the point where we left off last week, which was at the shloka. Yeah, so let's just do a quick recap from here. Chaturvarnam shloka. Chaturvarnam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha tasya kartaram api mam vidhiya kartaram avyayam. According to 3 modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the 4 divisions of human society were created by me, and although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So what is Prabhupada, why is Prabhupada quoting this verse here when we are reading the chapter of a peaceful society? Because Prabhupada is referring back to what Krishna said in Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 4, text 13. What does it say? That Lord Krishna is saying this Chaturvarnam, 4 divisions of society that I have created. These are based on the guna and karma. And I am, although the non-doer and unchangeable, he still, when he comes in this world, he still follows that same division. When Lord Krishna came as Vasudeva or in Vrindavan as son of Nanda Maharaj, he was the son of the cowherd people, right? So Nanda Maharaj used to tend cows. They used to have cows, right? So that was Vaishya. And Lord Krishna, being, although he has created the system, he doesn't have to follow because he's the creator of all this, but yet he follows everything, all the rules and regulations, all the things that he has set up. So that shows also that this is how, when we follow this, system of this varnashram, then we are actually going towards the peaceful society. But what happens if everybody wants to do jobs and everybody wants to have like higher money? Nobody wants to, do the hard labor. Then even that society will be very unbalanced, right? And there will be a lot of people who would be out of work, or, because everybody wants to just live in the cities and everybody just wants to do one kind of, work where you have like a lot of money. So what will that do? That will create the imbalance in the society. Okay, so these 4 divisions of men in the human society are natural, not artificial, because in this material world, everything is operating under the influence of 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. As long as we are in the material world, it is not possible to classify everyone in the same category, because each and every person is working under the influence of the modes of material nature. However, when we transcend the material plane, there is oneness. At that time, all the divisions fall apart. The question is that, therefore, how to transcend the modes of material nature. And that transcendence is very process of Krishna consciousness. As soon as we become situated in Krishna consciousness, we become transcendental to the modes of material nature. So what is Lord Krishna saying in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4? How do we transcend these modes of material nature? One has to engage in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Thus, one who is engaged in Krishna conscious activity at once elevates to the transcendental position. By nature, we are not matter but Brahman. The philosophy of Shankaracharya is mainly based on the principle that we should not think we are products of this material nature. It is by some unfortunate accident that we are in the contact of material nature. Actually, our nature is that of a spirit, Brahman, and that nature has to be invoked. This material life is diseased condition. When we are situated in Brahman, we are in our healthy condition. That healthy Brahman condition is immediately attained as soon as we engage ourselves 100% in Krishna consciousness. When we transcend the material nature to the rendering of service unto Krishna, what is our status? Do we become zero? Some philosophies maintain that after liberation from material life, after nirvana of this material body, we become zero, void. That is a dangerous theory. By nature, the living entity is not attracted to zero. Okay, so who verified this? Even Lord Krishna says that, right, in chapter 2 of Bhagavad-Gita, that there was never a time that you did not exist. There was never a time. Who is saying that? Lord Krishna is saying that to Arjuna, right? Do you all remember this chapter 2 shlokas? That there was yes, that was for you should be equipoised, right? Just before that, Krishna is saying that there was never a time that you did not exist. There would never be a time in future that all these kings would not exist. Remember when Arjuna was lamenting that he doesn't want to fight with his own people? Lord Krishna is saying that these people whom he was thinking that they are going to be ended, but Krishna said, well, so at that point, Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna that there was never a time that you did not exist. There will never be a time in future when all these kings shall not exist. So we see that soul is permanent by nature, right? It has to just leave the body at some point, go on its own journey based on the consciousness and the karma and the things that we have done. Based on what we deserve, the soul gets another body. So it's really that soul. So where is the question of like a complete zero, right? Zero means there is nothing. So soul always is a permanent and it is eternal in nature. By nature, living entity is not attracted to zero. That means that we are permanent living beings, but we have accepted this body and we are trying to now revive it back to our spiritual form, to our original form as spirit souls. We may be diseased and suffering from so many elements, but if our doctor comes and says, let me finish your element by killing you, we will immediately say, no, better let me suffer from the disease, right? Is that correct? Even if a person is diseased, he still doesn't have a desire to die, right? To leave the body. We do not want to be killed just to end our miseries. Thus, the theory that after material life there is void is not at all attractive, nor is it the fact we are Satchit Ananda Vigraha, means eternal, blissful, full of knowledge, and part and parcel of the Supreme. The Supreme Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, and we are qualitatively one with Him. Although very small, a drop of a sea water is as salty as sea. And although we are but spiritual atoms, we have the same properties as the Supreme Spirit whole. There is no question of being void for the living entity. Our spiritual properties are all there in the infinite variegatedness. If, however, we, out of the frustration of material existence, we commit suicide, we do not end our miseries. We simply create more miseries, other miseries. If one attempts suicide but do not succeed or somehow revived, he is subject to being punished under the state law. Similarly, if the laws of nature treat suicide as a criminal act, we are to end this material life only after finding out the true blissful life of eternity. To not simply try to end the miseries of this life simply out of frustration, but we should engage ourselves in the activities that will raise us to the spiritual life, right? So coming back to this 4 divisions, the 4 divisions of human society were created by Krishna in order to facilitate this process of elevation, right? So why are we talking about these 4 divisions of society? So everybody can be happy, right? When we talk about happiness, it's not only that I should be happy, right? We talked about that's just very selfish thinking. We have to be, I'm going to change the my place so there is little less noise. So when we are talking about the happiness, everybody should be happy, right? And so for that, Lord Krishna is saying we have to have a perfectly balanced society. And to create that balance and harmony, Lord has created this 4 divisions of society where everybody does things based on their qualities. So there is balance in the society, and there is, everybody is entitled to their own share of getting things, whatever they need to sustain their life.
So you're talking about Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, right?
Yes, correct. Because see, if there is Brahmanas, right, and they don't want to do what they're supposed to do, they want to just earn more money, or become like, administrative class, or, become kings, and who then guide the society in the right direction, right? And say if Kshatriyas don't want to do their jobs, they they just want to do something else, then who will protect the society, right? So we all have some qualities. Based on that qualities, there's a natural division of these 4 classes, which is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. If a person is in the labor class, they don't want to do the labor work, who will do the labor work, right? So that creates so much imbalance. So to be in a perfectly harmonious society, everybody should do, first of all, we have to cut down our greeds, And we are supposed to do based on the things, based on our qualities, which are natural, so they can be happy, and then we create the perfect society. This process of cooperation in human body, the most important part is head, then the arms, then the belly, and then the legs. Although the head is considered to be the most important part, there is no question of neglect of the legs and any other part. Similarly, in the division of human society, there is no one division that is important or to exclude of the other, to the exclusion of others. Of these division, the Brahmanas are considered to be the intellect class, the teachers. The Kshatriyas are considered to be administrative and military class. The Vaishyas are mercantile and are the agricultural class, and the Shudras are the common laborers class. In a properly run society, all of these classes are required. If they cooperate in their progress towards the Krishna consciousness, there is no strife amongst them. In the present social status, we find that we are existing in these 4 divisions, but there is no cooperation. Everyone is dissatisfied. Today, there is a great strife between the capitalist class and the laborer class, because between them, there is no compromise. There is only friction. All these strifes amongst the classes is due to the lack of Krishna consciousness. Indeed, there is not even a possibility of cooperation unless there is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is absolutely essential for harmonizing all facets of human society. Regardless of what classes we belong to, if we cooperate in Krishna consciousness, there will be a peaceful world. Thus, Krishna consciousness is the most necessity for all 4 divisions of society. Every chapter and every conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita aim towards the Krishna consciousness. Sri Krishna, who spoke Bhagavad-Gita, is always stressing on devotion to his personal self. So now you know that how we all can be happy, right? In a harmonious society, based on we cut down our greeds and we follow and this system of division, and we do what is, first of all, we have to elevate ourselves from that animalistic life. We have to understand the difference between the material temporary happiness, and we have to strive for the spiritual, reviving our spiritual nature back. That means we have to cut down on our anarthas that we have. We have to purify ourselves from those anarthas that we have. And that means we have to elevate ourselves. And for that, we have to follow this Chaturvarna Ashram system. We have to do what is required, live peacefully, and devote ourselves to Lord Sri Krishna. That's how we can be happy. We all can be happy, and we can go back to Godhead with our devotions in a peaceful society. And here, regarding the devotion, Prabhupada is quoting this verse here. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasya satyam te pratijani priyosmi me. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, we find this word mam stressed. Mam means unto me. And meaning, who is saying that mam? Lord Sri Krishna, means to Lord Sri Krishna. But there are many miscreants who are interpreting this mom to means everyone. Whenever I say, bring me a glass of water, does it mean that I want you to bring everyone a glass of water? No. This individuality is there, but by jugglery of words, they interpret me or I to mean everyone. Consequently, when Krishna says I, the miscreants identify this I with themselves. This is gross interpretation. Although Bhagavad Gita is very popular in the world, due to this misinterpretation by mundane scholars, it has not been properly understood, right? So how many, we do so many, there are so many classes and so many, preaching opportunities for preaching Bhagavad Gita. How many people really are interested? Thousands and thousands of people are being reached out, but they hardly are anybody is interested. There is some small group of people who would, take interest into listening to the message of Bhagavad Gita. Even of those small group, there are very few who will really understand the real message of Bhagavad Gita. And the rest, they are all just running behind this all hard, labor in seeking that temporary things, that acquiring those temporary things at some point, which will all be taken away. Bhagavad Gita clearly explains that this Chaturvarna system was established by Krishna, but he is outside this system. When Krishna comes as an incarnation, he does not come as a member of the social order, nor as a Brahmana or anything else. When Krishna comes, he comes as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. Vasudeva belongs to the royal family and was therefore a Kshatriya. As such, Krishna played the part of Kshatriya, but this does not mean that Krishna belonged to Kshatriya class. There are many incarnations of Krishna in many forms of life. In one incarnation, he appeared as a fish, as a member of the community of fish, right? The Meena avatar, when Lord Krishna comes to save Mother Earth from the floods. And then, there were 7 days of so much rain and floods. And then Krishna takes the form of a fish and carries the boat. And in that boat, there were who were seated? The 7 sages, and Krishna was, and they were told, do you all know that story? They were told to take all the seeds. Then, so because
Krishna told the king to bring everything important for the next yuga to a boat. Then the king built a boat and he brought the 7 sages. He brought many plants and he brought that stuff. Then Krishna came as Matsya Avatar and he was driving the boat.
Yes, very nice. So Krishna comes in so many different forms. There are many incarnations of Krishna in the form of life. In one incarnation, he appears as a fish, as a member of community of fish, but does not mean that he is a fish, correct? If we think about seeing a fish that it belongs to Krishna's family, we are mistaken. Of course, from other point of view, everything is Krishna, but Krishna is aloof from everything. This is the transcendental nature of Krishna. If we understand it, we will be liberated from birth and death. Although Krishna has established the 4 divisions of human society, he is not in any one of them. Tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. As soon as we understand that Krishna was born into the Kshatriya family, he is not Kshatriya. We actually become liberated. We think that because Krishna acts in a particular way, as on the battlefield, he gave instruction to Arjuna to fight. He is bound to the reaction of his activities. We are mistaken. Work, do not defile me, says Krishna. Namam karmani limpati. In the conclusion, we must accept the fact that Krishna comes as one of us. He is not actually one of us. He is transcendental. This fact we must learn by submissive inquiry into the authoritative source, such as Bhagavad-Gita, or the spiritual master, who is fully realized in Krishna consciousness. Correct? Okay, so who would like to read a little more? Yes, go ahead, Manohar.
Okay. Today, all facets of human society are thinking that their self-interest is in maintaining this body. Consequently, today's society is fully a society of cats, dogs, and hogs. From Vedic literatures, we can understand that we don't have to work hard all day. Simply to maintain this body, we are working very hard because we are trying to control material nature for the purposes of sense gratification. One who can come to understand that Krishna is the root of everything, the origin of everything, can understand the meaning of Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller. In the universe, there are many Ishvaras or controllers, but Krishna is the supreme among all of them. Krishna consciousness gives us this knowledge. Without it, we will remain ignorant of our real self-interest. Modern society is in dire need of intellectual persons or brahmanas who can broadcast real spiritual knowledge all over the world. That is an absolute necessity for a society which is working hard simply to exploit nature. If people try to understand this Krishna consciousness movement scientifically and philosophically with their best knowledge and judgment and try to cooperate, there will be peace all over the world. In essence, the message is very simple. We need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and follow the regulative principles mentioned before. By following the regulative principles, you will be avoiding the four pillars of life, and by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we will be associating with God constantly. Thus, there will be peace among all classes of men. And the chapter is over.
Very nice. Thank you, Manohar. Okay, so before we get into our next chapter, which is chapter 4, Knowing Krishna as He Is, anybody wants to share anything that they have learned so far in this book?
They also on the Bhagavad Gita, they say Bhagavad Gita as it is.
As it is. Correct. It is authoritative knowledge. It is Prabhupada, is a bona fide spiritual master that he's, Lord Krishna so mercifully sent here, who is giving the message as it is. He's not adulterating anything. He's giving the direct message that Krishna has given. He's just translating it, in without any his personal motive. He just translates that. So Prabhupada always said that I'm like a postman who brings the letter and just delivers, right? That letter is not created by the postman, is it? He just delivers it, right? So that's how Prabhupada said, I'm just delivering the message as it is. Very nice, Govinda. Okay, who else would like to share?
Mataji, what was the question?
So we finished chapter 3. We are just asking if anybody would like to share anything that they have heard, what they liked in the chapter, or they want to ask anything before we get into our next.
Tomorrow's Gita Jayanti.
Tomorrow is Gita Jayanti. Yes, Bhagavad Gita was spoken on this day.
Tomorrow's Mokshada Ekadashi, which is Gita Jayanti.
Yeah, because one of the things that Bhagavad Gita does is it relieves us of this material bondage. And what does moksha means? Moha means, what is moha? Is if you break the word moksha, it has two words, moha and kshaya. Kshaya means to break, and moha means our attachments. So Bhagavad Gita's knowledge actually break our attachments to this material world, to this material happiness or whatnot we see here in this temporary aspect of life. It breaks those bond of our materialism and it brings us back to the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, where we can live a life of eternity, where we get our original form. So that is the meaning of the word moksha. And Bhagavad Gita truly, is spoken on such an auspicious day, which makes it a Mokshada Ekadashi.
Can I share what I learned?
Yes, go ahead.
I learned the 4 varnas are to make people happy. I didn't know they're just to make people happy.
See, it makes so logical sense. See, if there are no labor class, right, what will happen in the society? Everybody wants to go into the cities. They don't want to do any farming. They don't want to do any labor work. So what will, and everybody wants to get highly educated and go and work in the offices. What will happen? They can get all the money from the offices. Will there be food to eat?
No. No.
Why?
Because Vaishyas are agriculture, and agriculture means basically working on a farm.
Right.
And then from farms you can get food like
Right.
fruits and vegetables, and if there's not fruits and vegetables you can't eat anything.
Right.
Then you can only drink water and
Right.
eat anything. How can one survive without eating anything?
Exactly. So what this does is actually this modernization, civilization that we call in so-called, today's world, that everybody is becoming advanced and everybody is, taking high educations and, going for high paying jobs. And, if we don't see that aspect that if everybody is doing the same thing, then we will lose the society to an imbalanced, will make the society imbalanced, right? So based on the karma, based on the guna, the qualities that we have, these are the natural divisions that Krishna has created. For what? For the harmonious society. So everybody can do their jobs and we create a harmonious society and they themselves can be happy. Everybody in the society can be happy. Very nice realization, Manohar.
Mataji, I want to say something else also.
Yes.
So also Bhagavad Gita as it is, we have a small Bhagavad Gita. It's not Bhagavad Gita as it is. We accidentally got it. So we were checking if the one of the verse on Bhagavad Gita as it is and on that Bhagavad Gita was the same. It was so different. The translation was really different. The verse was also written differently.
Yeah, there are actually 300 versions of Bhagavad Gita. Can you believe it? There are 300 versions of Bhagavad Gita which have all different kinds of interpretations based on who has translated them. I'm not saying all 300 are incorrect, but there is no question of incorrect here. But if we understand that, Lord Krishna themselves, there is
This one, the small one, mini one.
Lord Krishna himself says that there are 4 sampradayas. There are 4 divisions. 4 lineages in which this knowledge is coming, which is carrying the real message of Lord Krishna. And those sampradayas are Sri Sampradaya, and then Brahma Sampradaya that we belong to, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Then there is a Rudra Sampradaya and there is Kumar Sampradaya. So these 4 lineages carry the message as it is. So likewise, there are even beyond this, there are so many other interpretations. And what happens is that real message of Lord Krishna, that he is trying to elevate us. The whole point in the Bhagavad Gita is we elevate ourselves. We don't live like animals. We don't, get entangled in the bondage of this karma cycle and, the things that we want to acquire and, the anarthas that we have. We don't get entangled into all that. We elevate ourselves. And that's what the whole book is about. He's saying elevation to Krishna consciousness. Okay. Very nice. Thank you, Manohar. Anybody else or anything else? Okay, so we have good 15 minutes. What we are going to do is we are going to quickly go into our next chapter. We'll do some reading today and then we'll continue next week, okay? So let's continue with the chapter 4, Knowing Krishna as He is. Okay, would somebody like to read in the beginning? Would like to read? Yes, go ahead.
We do not need any high qualifications to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever our social or intellectual position may be, we can offer prayers. We do not have to be very learned or very scholarly, nor do we have to present our prayers in nicely selected words that are poetical, rhetorical, or metaphorical. No, none of these is required, although if it is there, it is very nice. We simply have to express our feelings, but in order to be able to do this, we have to be aware of our position. Once we are aware of our position, our feelings can be expressed sincerely and automatically.
Yes, you can continue a little more.
What is our position? This has been taught by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who teaches us how to pray in this prayer. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktera hetu ki tvai.
Very nice reading, very nice. Mehika. What is the translation? This is the shloka from Shikshastakam. What is Shikshastakam? So Ashtakam means Ashta means 8, right? And Ashtakam means there is the collection of 8 verses. Collection of 8 verses for the so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did not write like so many books or materials. But what he did was when he left, he inaugurated this Sankirtan moment, which is the Yoga Dharma. He gave the chanting of the holy name, and he left behind these 8 verses. 8 verses. Of this 8 verses, this verse is the 4th number. And this is the translation of this goes like this. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth. nor have I any desire to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is that I may have your causeless devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking here? Just causeless devotional service. Causeless means without any personal motive, just pure service to the lotus feet of Lord forever and ever. It doesn't matter actually, if a person is, taken the shelter of the Lord and he lives a life full of dharma and, devotion to the Lord, it doesn't really matter where they are born again or, they go back to the spiritual world and be there and assist in the pastimes of Krishna there, or come back and preach to the message to the people, because what is in such people, one thing is there in such people, there is no personal motive, there is no I. So, which actually is the only cause of the miseries. So a devotee of Krishna, although they may be struggles or, their life, whatever they are facing, but they can never be miserable. Because what causes misery? What is the cause of our misery? Is this cause of our misery is this aspect of I and mine. If person is free of that, then there are no miseries. So one of the first symptom, or not symptom, actually a byproduct of bhakti is that it relieves us from the kleshagni. Agni means fire, and klesha agni means the fire of misery. It relieves us from the fire of misery. So a devotee of Lord Krishna is never miserable. So it doesn't matter where they are born, birth after birth, they are just, engaged in the pure service of the Lord. And that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching here in this verse. I have no desire to accumulate wealth. I have no desire to enjoy beautiful women. I have no desire to have any number of followers. But I want is your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. That is Shikshastakam, prayer number 4.
I think Shastakam has 8 verses.
Yes, it has 8 verses. Ashta means 8. And Ashtaka means collection of 8 verses.
Oh, and also there's this YouTube channel called Shastakam.
Yes. In this prayer, the word Jagadisha means Lord of Universe. Jagat means the universe, and Isha means the Lord. Whether we are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or whatever, we must acknowledge that there is supreme controller of this universe. This cannot be denied by anyone who has faith in God. Our conviction should be that our Supreme Father is Jagdish, or Lord of the entire universe. Only Lord Jagadisha is in control. Everyone else is controlled. The atheists, however, do not think this term because they like to think that they are in control. But actually, it is not the case. All beings in the material world are subject to 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. But the Supreme Lord is above these modes of nature. Okay. So we'll read a little bit more today. Trebhir gunamair bhaver ebhi sarvam idam jagat mohitam na bijanati mamebhya paramavyayam. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me. Who am I above them and inexhaustible? Avyayam means eternal, inexhaustible. The Brahmasamita also gives us information regarding Jagdisha, the Supreme. In that work, Lord Brahma says that Supreme Controller is Lord Krishna himself, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna. The word Ishvara means controller and the word Parama means supreme. All of us are controlled in some limited extent. If we have nothing to control, sometimes we control the cats, dogs, and we say, "My dear dog, please come here." In this way, we think, I am the controller. Sometimes the table runs, however, and we find that the dog controls the master. This happens because actually no one is the controller and everyone is controlled. Unfortunately, we are forgetful of this situation, and the forgetfulness is called Maya. So in this analogy, you see that what Prabhupada is trying to explain us here, that we all know Brahmasamita, the book Brahmasamita at some point. That's also one of the books that we are going to read in this list of books that we have.
Oh yeah, in database.
Prayers from Lord Brahma to Krishna when he stole all his friends. And whenever I think of Brahma Samhita, I think of the first verse because I have memorized it.
Very nice. And what is that verse, Manhar? Can you say for all of us?
Okay. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam.
Very nice.
Mataji, can I say the verse? I also memorized it.
Yes, please say.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana.
Very nice. So this verse is very important, very important. We all should memorize, like Manahar and
I know also.
yes, Govinda. I want to listen.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Arnayana Govinda Sadakarana Karana.
Very nice. Who else can recite this verse?
Can Jyotsna try?
Yes, please, Jyotsna. Go ahead.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradis Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam.
Very nice. I'm so happy to hear this verse from everybody. You know, this verse has so much deep meaning to it. Actually, if we try to just understand that, there will be no cause of misery in this world. If person just understands even this one verse, that Lord is the cause. What is the last line says? That Sarva Karana Karanam. That Lord is the cause of all causes. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna. He's saying that Brahma is saying, Lord Brahma is saying that Ishvaraha Parama Krishna. Who is the Lord, Supreme Lord? The Lord Sri Krishna. He's referring to Lord Krishna Paramaha. He is like the supreme of everything. Satchidananda Vigraha. What is he? He's Sat, Chit, Ananda, and Vigraha. Four things are there. He is Sat, means he is eternal. Chit means he is fully knowledgeable. Ananda means he is fully blissful. And Vigraha means he has the form. Clearly, he has a form. He is a person. So if we just understand that, and what is the next line? Satchidananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir. He is eternal. That means he doesn't have anything before, and he doesn't have any end to that aspect of the Lord. And he is, that means he's eternal, and so are we. We are the parts and parcel of the Lord. We are eternally going to exist. Temporarily, we are put into this body. But while we are in this body, there have been some past karmas that we are facing now, based on which we have all this, the way we look, the way we think, the way we have things in our life, the way things our consciousness is, and whatever we are doing now is going to carry forward in our next journey. So, should we waste our time? Should we go behind something temporary in this world?
No.
Should we do sinful acts? Should we do adharma, things of adharma? Because these are all the things that are going to decide our next journey onwards. So it's very, very important that we take this message. And lastly, in that verse, Krishna is saying, Lord Brahma is saying, Sarva Karana Karanam, that he is the cause of all causes. So we don't even, that means we are not bound to any, we are not the controllers. We can do what we have, what we are allowed based on our karma, but the results are again, up to the desire of the Lord. Okay, very nice. So I think this is a good breaking point. We are coming to closure for today's reading. We have just started, we have just begun this 4th chapter, which is very interesting, knowing Lord Sri Krishna. So we'll continue next week. Anything anybody would like to say during this last minute? Okay, now then we'll conclude here. We'll say our prayers. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we all see you again next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.